Stock markets are tumbling as new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China all took effect this morning. The S&P 500 posted its biggest one-day decline of the year on Monday, while the Dow lost 650 points. European and Asian shares are also mostly down as their markets have opened today. Joining us with more this morning is financial commentator Jon Erlichman. So taking a look overseas and those markets reacting because, of course, as we mentioned, it is Canada, Mexico, and China all affected as of today.
Yeah, Anne-Marie, everybody hates uncertainty, and it's a cliche, but the stock market hates uncertainty as well. So we've known for months that this could be coming. Then when it actually happens, traders and investors, they start to try to piece it all together. So just as an example, you're talking about overseas. One of the obvious sectors to immediately get hit is the one we talk about here in North America, the auto sector, right? Because everybody's trying to figure out where the companies that would most directly at the fastest pace be impacted by tariffs. After that, though, it just starts to get a little bit uncertain, more broadly speaking. I mean, I'll give you an example. You've even got some of the big technology stocks with ties to China under pressure today because people are just trying to figure out what a tense trade relationship globally is going to be like.
Well, and that's what I want to ask you about, because we talk in big headlines, right? It's going to be hard for the economy. Things are going to get more expensive. There's going to be job losses, but there's no timeline attached to that. So we're hours old and into this trade war. I think the thing that people are wondering about this morning is, when do things get more expensive for me? When do I start feeling this?
Well, there's a good argument that that could happen relatively quickly because consumers are going to be eating a good portion of this.
And when we say consumers, are we talking grocery store? Are we talking, buying running shoes? Like,
I mean, it could absolutely show up everywhere is the bottom line. And you've got a lot of companies that are already trying to warn investors. I mean, there's two stories, right? There's Main Street and then there's Wall Street as an example in the U.S., because this is going to impact the U.S. economy. Target, the big retailer, is warning that their business is going to look lumpier from here. So we've got a number of different questions about what does this mean for the economy. Yes, the economy for Canada, absolutely. I mean, you've already got economists who are saying that the recession reality will grow every day that we are talking about tariffs from here on out. But in the United States, they've got the same worries now. There's growing expectations in the market this morning that the Central Bank of the U.S., the U.S. Federal Reserve, is going to have to cut interest rates several times this year to offset some of this economic uncertainty. Ironically, that's one of the reasons why the Canadian dollar has held in okay today, because there's been weakness in the U.S. dollar, which helps our loonie. But again, this has also been a story that's been playing out for months. I mean, people who have been watching the Canadian dollar know that already.
Right, and so there's this sense of anticipation. It is finally here. We should also bring into the fact that our tariffs against the U.S. also kicked in at midnight on certain things. We'll learn more from the Prime Minister at 10:30 this morning. But what effect could that have on the U.S. side of things?
Well, at the end of the day, it would seem that the political fighting tools that come through tariffs, it's the same playbook here. And the hope that if Canada fights back, that could be a strategy that means tariffs for less time. But at the end of the day, not only are big businesses going to have to make decisions around this, and unfortunately, the big worry is what does this mean for our jobs market, but also small businesses that have key partners in the United States, they're going to have some tough choices to make. All of a sudden, if their customers in the U.S. are saying, I can't do business with you, do they set up shop in the United States? I mean, that's really what this is all about.
That's what he's pushing. That came at that press conference yesterday.
And this is why it's such a complicated story, because there's no doubt there are a lot of Canadians that could be very hard hit, particularly businesses that are trying to make a go of this. But, we've been talking to some public companies that have operations set up in the United States and set up in Canada. So if the goods are actually technically not crossing the border for you to do business, you might be able to manage through this a little bit better than others. Even for the Canadian stock market, there's a lot of services-related businesses that won't necessarily be, that's why I was saying the auto stocks were immediately under pressure. But the uncertainty of the whole thing has already been weakening the economy. You've seen that in the confidence numbers, and Canada's response isn't just going to be what we do on tariffs. Think about if we have to go provide fiscal support to all parts of the Canadian economy. And are we going to do it the same way we did it during COVID, which was to get you through the day-to-day? Or, because everybody's talking about this as our big opportunity to build Canada for the future, can our political leaders work together on a savvy fiscal plan that prepares a lot of hard-hit businesses for the future. Because, I mean, last time I checked, we've got 4 years of Trump as a minimum right now.
Right.
So if this does go on, are we in a position right now where we can rebuild some of our industry for the long haul here?
Well, I'm going to let you go, but we wrap up on a really good point, because not only we may have 4 years of Trump, but we don't know what our next government's going to look like, potentially, because we have a new prime minister coming in on Monday and then an election being called sometime between the end of March and October. Lots of uncertainty. The markets are not going to like that. They open a little bit later this morning. We'll have a look then. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Thanks. If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.